Alright guys, we're back with some more MX versus ATV Legends. Today we're going to check out the next 4 tracks in the Pro National Motocross Track DLC. But before we get to that, I do want to show you the YZ450 and the CRF 450. So, I don't know if it's just me, but I think the bike models look great. But the YZ450 feels like it's way too wide, the whole bike, not just the back end. Like, the whole bike feels kind of wide. I don't have a YZ450, I've never had one, but if you have one or if you're familiar with it, the bike, I mean, even the two strokes feel kind of wide for the Yamaha, but I don't know, this bike and then the Honda, specifically this bike feels like it has way too much travel in the back. It's like the bike doesn't have any sag, like, at all. And the suspension doesn't really move. The rest of the Honda bikes feel fine, and it's not so bad when you're standing, but when you're sitting down, it feels like the back end needs to go down farther, right? And the suspension just doesn't feel like it's moving as much. I mean, on the Kawasaki and the Suzuki especially, those bikes, the suspension moves more, but on the Honda, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. It just feels weird to me. It looks great, but it feels a bit off. Okay, so this is Southwick. We're gonna do first person on the KTM 450. 1 lap on each track. We're just gonna kind of do this until we run through all the tracks. It is Tuesday, so the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross DLC should be out. If you're not on console, or if the update took them away and you had bought them already, they're back. So Southwick here, first person. This, surprisingly, in All Out, I would say I had more trouble with Southwick than any of the other tracks. It's really, really rough. This track is really rough too. It's pretty much the same as it was in All Out. I don't know if they have made any changes or not. They haven't had the race. I think the race would be this weekend. I think Southwick is next, right? Not sure. But the track is virtually the same, with maybe some changes the way they did, similar to what they did at High Point, where we talked about the ruts, how they were maybe not as deep or as sharp as they were in All Out. But for the most part, the track was the same, and it rode really well. I feel like we did better with the way this game plays, than we did in All Out. I know people have been talking about the weird bounces, and I've had them, but very, very rarely. I just don't. I haven't had that weird bounce from casing or jumping into a corner, such as some of you guys have had. And maybe it just plays that way on PC, but I know I saw some players on PC say it was happening to them. And it has happened to me, but not as much. But overall, what I want to say is that I think the way the bike is on the ground for just the bumps and natural roughness of the track plays better than it did in All Out. But that's just my opinion. If you don't feel that way, let me know in the comments, and that's completely fine. I mean, that's just the way I feel about the game. But this is Washougal. We got Horsepower Hill. Now, this track is similar to Southwick, where it's pretty much the same with maybe some small adjustments to it. Now, at the very end, the very, very end of the track might be a tiny bit different, but for the most part, it's the same. I would say this was the track I probably had the most fun on, especially being in first person, trying to get into the ruts and, you know, just have a really smooth way around the track. I know we don't really throw too many whips, and somebody probably will complain about it, and that's valid, but in first person, first of all, I'm not great in first person. I was trying my best to get the best looking laps we could have, and I think we did pretty good, but if I started to whip too much, you know, we couldn't land it, or we would get out of control. And I can whip and all that stuff fine in third person, but once I get into first person, sometimes it's just like really hard for me to bring the whip back just because of the camera angle that we're in. But yeah, I had the most fun on this track. I feel like it works. I don't know. I mean, all the tracks work great, but I felt like, me personally, this track fit first person really well. And we've talked about it. First person in the game is awesome. I know some people don't love it, but it is customizable. The only complaint I have about first person is I wish I could pull the camera back a tiny bit more. I mean, that's being pretty picky. You know, when you see a lot of the bike, it's because I'm leaning back on it. If I don't lean back, we see pretty much the whole front fender, the number plate, and some of the handlebars, but not, you know, not like the gas tank, the shrouds. I mean, you see some of the shrouds and the radiator, but mostly what we already talked about. So that's my only complaint. Other than that, first person is awesome. And next, in a second here, we have Unadilla. That is the track, boys. That is my track. I did see someone comment, said that we needed to come to Unadilla this year. Dude, I want to. I've never been here. This is, I'm going to say it every time we play a Unadilla track, this is my favorite track in the world. It is my favorite. I mean, I grew up watching this track, the gravity cavity, the hills, the roughness, just the natural build of the track. It's awesome. And I've unfortunately never been to the race. I really wish I could make it to it once. Like I said, that comment probably won't make it this year, but it'd be a pretty medium trip for me. But yeah, eventually it's on my list of things to do. I want to make it to this track. I want to see this race in real life. It's the track for me. And unfortunately, I feel like we did okay, but unfortunately, we could have rode better. I think I probably played on this track maybe a little bit more than Washougal. I'm not sure if I said Washougal was the track we spent the most time on, but it was actually probably Unadilla, because first of all, it's so fun for me to be able to play this track in the game. And I know we've had it in All Out, we've had it as mods and other games too, but dude, it's just so awesome. It's so much fun. It's just, I wish I could have got a better lap. The track is really, really rough. It has ruts on it. Not as many as I wish. I wish Unadilla had a few more ruts on it. And I wish going into the corners, it was a bit, a few more braking bumps. Like at the bottom of some of these hills, I wish the ruts were bigger and a little bit deeper. Now you will have some terrain deformation and whatnot, but it didn't feel like it was super strong on this track. So no matter what they do with the terrain deformation, I wish there was a few more ruts in the corners, and it was just a bit more rough in general, right? Now we have the final track in this video is Ironman Raceway. We've actually had this track more in All Out than any other track, because we got the 2019 version 2. Right? We had because I think we got 2018 Ironman, and then they did an update where we got 2019, and then we had it in 2020. So I think we had this track more in All Out, like one more time. So we're pretty familiar with the track. It was fun. It's not my favorite track. I really do enjoy this track, but it wasn't my favorite. It was actually a bit tough at the very end here. They did make, I think, coming up here, there is a little bit of change from All Out, a tiny bit, but for the most part, these tracks in this video were pretty similar, So let me know in the comments. Some of you guys did in that last video how you thought the tracks were and whatnot. I'd appreciate it if you do it in this video so we can see the differences. I know some of you guys are much more educated on it than I am, so I'm not sure, like, for instance, Ironman here, how many changes have happened, but really cool to see what you guys think and, compare it to real life and to just see how accurate they got it in the game. overall, all the tracks are awesome. Pumped to check out the last, what would it be, four if you count Loretta Lynn. So yeah, 4 tracks to check out at the end. Probably we'll see. Let me know in the comments which you prefer, first person or third person. I mean, I prefer third person to play in, but I still, this first person cam is awesome. So we might do some first person, maybe we mix it up a bit, but let me know in the comments which your favorite is, and we'll probably do that. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.